The Long Road Home. My name is Sarah. I'm 16, and I live in the middle of nowhere. My town is so small that most people don't even know it exists, just a speck on the map, surrounded by vast forests and sprawling farmland. There are no big cities nearby, and the most excitement we get is during hunting season or when a truck breaks down on the highway. Life here is quiet. Almost too quiet sometimes. But after what happened last year, I've come to hate the silence. It started in late October, when the nights grew longer and the air carried a strange chill. I was walking home from my friend's house after a study session, something I had done hundreds of times before. It was a straight shot, just a 15-minute walk down a narrow road bordered by thick trees. Most of the time, I'd put on my headphones and zone out. But that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. You know when your skin prickles and you feel like eyes are on you? That's what it was like. Except this time, it felt like whoever or whatever was watching wasn't friendly. The first sign that something was wrong was the sound. It started as a faint rustling in the bushes, like small animals scurrying through the undergrowth. But then it grew louder, like someone or something was following me, matching my pace, step for step. I glanced behind me, but there was nothing there. I chalked it up to my imagination and quickened my pace. Halfway down the road, the trees grew denser, their branches arching overhead, blocking out the moonlight. That's when I heard it. A low, guttural growl. It wasn't like any animal I'd heard before. It sounded too deep, too wrong. My heart pounded in my chest as I picked up my pace, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. The growl came again, this time closer, and I swear I heard footsteps in the dirt behind me. I stopped dead in my tracks, fear rooting me to the spot. Slowly, I turned around, my breath visible in the cold air. At first, I saw nothing, just the empty road stretching back into the darkness. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement, something low to the ground, darting between the trees. It was fast, too fast. I blinked and it was gone, swallowed by the shadows. I started running, not the slow jog I'd been doing, but full-on sprinting, my backpack bouncing wildly as I tore down the road. The sound of footsteps behind me only grew, louder, faster, like it was gaining on me. I risked a glance over my shoulders, and that's when I saw it. A figure, tall and thin, was standing at the edge of the trees, barely illuminated by the faint moonlight. Its body was humanoid, but wrong. Its limbs were too long, and its head was crooked at an unnatural angle. Its eyes, those eyes, were glowing. They locked onto mine, and in that moment, a wave of dread washed over me. I knew, deep down, that whatever this thing was, it wasn't human, and it wasn't friendly. I bolted, my legs burned, my lungs felt like they were on fire, but I didn't care. I had to get home. The footsteps behind me faded, but I didn't slow down until I reached my house. I slammed the door behind me, locking it, my heart racing. I stood there panting, trying to catch my breath. For a while, nothing happened. It was just me and the eerie silence. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, every little crack and groan of the house setting me on edge. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. The next day, I told my parents what happened. My mom laughed it off, saying it was probably a deer or a trick of the light. But my dad didn't laugh. He looked at me, his face pale, and asked if I had seen anything else. I shook my head, but the way his eyes darkened told me he knew something I didn't. A few days later, the real terror began. I started hearing noises outside my window at night, scratching, like nails dragging across the glass. At first, I thought it was tree branches in the wind, but when I went to check, the trees were too far from the house to be the cause. Then I heard whispers, soft murmurs that seemed to come from just outside my window. When I looked, nothing was there, just the empty yard, bathed in the pale glow of the moon. Then, one night, I woke up to tapping sounds, slow and deliberate, like someone was gently knocking on the glass. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned towards the window, and there it was, pressing its face against the glass, staring at me with those same glowing eyes, the creature from the road. Its face was twisted, its mouth too wide, stretching into a disgusting smile. It tilted its head, watching me, and then it spoke. But it didn't use its own voice. It used mine. "Sarah," it whispered, in a voice that sounded like me but distorted. "Wrong. Let me in." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. It pressed its hands against the glass, its fingers long and thin, the nails sharp and black. The grin widened, and for a split second, I thought it was going to break through the glass. But then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. The tapping stopped, and the night was silent. Next morning, I found something that chilled me to my core. Footsteps, leading from the woods to my window and then back again. They weren't human. The tracks were too long, too deep, like whatever had made them was much heavier than any person could be. I haven't seen that creature since that night, but I know it's still out there, watching, waiting. Sometimes, when I'm walking at night, I catch a glimpse of something in the distance. A tall, thin figure, standing just at the edge of the trees. And I know it's only a matter of time before it comes back, knocking on my window, asking to be let in again. Hey everyone, this is Lone Bird. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I loved sharing it with you. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. It really helps me out. Also, if you have your own experiences or requests for a future video, or just to say hi, email me at lonebirdexperiences@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And remember, stay curious, stay spooky. Until next time.